Well, hello traders and investors. I'm L.A. Little and this is your daily NeoTA wrap. We take a look at these markets and we're doing it from a neoclassical perspective, and that means every day we're looking at these markets and asking ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about the coming ones. I do this show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube, and it's under the channel L.A. Little. Also do a weekly show, same time, same place, and if you want to subscribe, just reach up in the right-hand corner. Anytime I push content, you'll get a notification. Unless that content is for members only, I do give additional content to members. That content, some of it is like these cradle-to-grave trades here that you see that are, after the fact when I publish them here, but of course live when I publish it to members. And then of trades themselves. As a matter of fact, if you look at the S&P, if we take the SPY here to start the night, we bought it Friday. We bought it on this pullback Friday, and we sold it today. That's the sort of trades we try to make. They don't always turn out that way, but we had a reversal on Friday. I talked about it. You came into this area down here. You couldn't hold into it. Came into the support zone as shown, flipped around. You got a 2% gain almost out of it. Not a bad trade for 2 days. Let's take a look at the markets, see what we got here. Everything green today. It didn't matter where you looked, what you did. If you put your money in the market, you made money. Up, 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 up. Well, if you put the money long, you made money. So if you look across the board here, 1.5%, 1.25%, S&P 1.25%. The leader was the NDX. Apple, not actually busting out, but Apple getting a pretty good push. But you had Microsoft, Google, you had all the big caps, you had the SOX, you had the IBB come back, all of that pushing to the top side. Over in Asia, had some gains, nothing big. We also had gains in Europe, pretty much across the board, nice gains elsewhere. Let's look at the S&P 500 and see what we got here. Now, as we come back up, right, you're going to hit the resistance zone, and the way you get failures is you get failed bounces to begin with. So you're not going to get a failure in a large way until you get a failed bounce. And for example, here you get a small pullback, a failed bounce, and you extend to the downside, right? Well, what happens here? If you get a failed bounce, let's just call today a high. What would you do? You'd get an extension to the downside, right? Remember, this area is going to be a spot-on area. You don't want to see it break this area. And why is that? Well, because if you pull over the weekly chart, you're going to see the weekly chart lines up in the same spot. That price point, 2022.49. Bring it back over here and take a look at it, 2022.49. 2 swing points, same price point. 2 swing point lows on this time frame. That's multiple time frames breaking on multiple swing points. That is a problem if you get there. So as you move higher, a failed bounce that pretends to the downside or actually ends up going to the downside can potentially contain a lot of problems. Right now, nothing to tell you it's going to do that. I don't see any failures out here when I look at these charts. If I look at the NASDAQ, and the only bad thing here was just volume tailing off, but I look at the NASDAQ, a little bit more volume as it comes back up. Now the NASDAQ is going to give us a tell. It's been the weakest group. It's going to be the one that tells us something first. And why is that? Well, because it's coming back into a swing point low that has already been broken. As you come back into something that's broke, you get to see what it's going to do. The very first break was here. It got back over it. What does that tell us? Well, it tells us this little trend that was in place here probably no longer is down, but more or less sideways. If you get over this one, then that's going to tell you something different, right? Trend's going to head the other way. So the big test is as it comes into this area. It's right at the low now. Going to try to get back over it. Second test of the area. You already had a test here, so here's the second one. A little higher probability that you can get to the other side. That other side, if we look at the numbers up there, 4876, it looks like about 4880. And so as you push back up, that's the area that I'd be looking at for a failure. It happens, and it happens most of the time actually. You get the top of the swing point low, usually, not usually, but a lot of the times, ends up being the high of the breakdown bar. And it ends up, in this case, being a swing point high as well. So That area is going to be a tough area to get back over. That's the area that you'd expect some sort of a failure. If we pull it back one more time here, the S&P 500, here you can see you don't have that sort of a tail. You've got your breakdown, so to speak, breakdown bar here. It's not really a breakdown bar. You didn't break anything. You broke it on the next one. But that is the first push off the highs. It actually left a swing point high. So the test here will be the 2100 level. So as you move back to that area, that's going to be the area where you want to focus your attention on what happens next. And that's the area that you're going to find out what this market wants to do, right? Because it's test. It's always about test. Market's constantly testing. That is price discovery. That is what the market does. It does it every second, does it every nanosecond. If you're doing HFT or any of the other computer-aided programs, it does it on a daily basis, a weekly basis, monthly basis. All along the way, it's doing it. What you have to do is take a look at it and see when you get to a test, what does it do? For example, here on the Russell, the next test is this bar is 1129. You got to find a bar of significance. If you join TA today, right, all you can do is pop over here, hit the Get Started button. But if you join us, you become eligible after a period of time to be a mentoree. In other words, we will teach you exactly how we do this stuff, all the rules that go with it. There's not a huge number of rules, but they're out there. You got to have bars of significance. Bars of significance are defined specifically. You can pick them out. Once you do, you can see what the test does as it comes into it. This will be the test tomorrow. Let's look overseas real quick here. If I pop up the overseas markets, Asia was up, but Asia looks like it's trying to fail. So I think this is going to be the key thing tomorrow. So I'll start here with the DAX. DAX gets up, over, under. Got a little bit more volume. It's actually testing just over the Draghi bar, just gets over it. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else here of significance. Really not. So this looks like it's going to try to test again tomorrow, but that might be the point where you see the failure. And when we look at the currencies here, we'll see if there's anything there that gives us an idea. Let's look at the France CACs, and got the same thing, and this one actually has less volume. So a weak bounce, less volume, over, under, doji. That's the setup to try to take it lower. Now the French market, of course, has been weaker. French market is coming into the bottom of the Draghi bar, and so as it comes in there, it can't get over it. That's a significant bar. It's wide price spread. That's a failure. This looks like it's going to try to come back. So I would expect some sort of a turn tomorrow. That's one of the reasons we sold that SPY today. Took our profits. Look at Switzerland. Switzerland had a nice big up day, and it's coming into the Draghi bar, and it's actually into it. Switzerland actually looking better and better as it goes on here. It's still got a lot of work to do to catch up with the rest of the indexes in Europe, given all the strength in the Swiss franc, but certainly not as bad as it used to be. Shanghai trades lower, then turns, gets over. It actually has a little under-over. Looks like the volume's not there yet. Let's see if we can get it while we're talking. What we ended up with was a under-over with less volume, I believe. And there we go. There's the volume. So under-over, a little less volume. That says it's going to try to bounce tonight. So we'll get a little bounce out of it. If we look at it on a little bit longer time frame, here on the weekly, you can see what kind of trouble this thing is in. This is a rough spot for Asia and for the Shanghai in particular. If we look at the Nikkei, of course, this is all based on the yen. The yen comes roaring back down again now that they're threatening to intervene openly, and that puts the Nikkei back up the other side, right? Take your currency down, push your market up. It's the same thing they've been doing forever. Over here on the HSI, on the Hang Seng, you get under, you get it back over, you got less volume, so that's a test. Again, it's all about test. You get under, can't stay under, it's going to bounce. So it looks to me like Asia is going to try to bounce tonight. Europe's going to probably try to crawl higher early and probably then give it up. And then the U.S. looks like it's probably going to try and trade a little bit higher in the morning. But after that, it's all bets off. May get a little bit of a retrace. And that's, I think, where we stand tonight. Let's see real quickly here on the currencies if there's anything there that tells us a different story. So bear with me. Let me get the currency charts up. I know the dollar was up today, but I don't know what the volumes look like, and I don't know if it tested into anything. So let's see what we got. So dollar gets under back over, has a little bit less volume. No test yet. The dollar can try to trade higher. And let's quickly look at the euro and see if there's anything on that chart. And nothing here either. So this dollar to me looks like it's going to try to continue higher. When it gets some sort of a little pullback, it's more than likely going to set up an ABCD structure to the top side. And so if we draw that in, and we can just take today and say, oh well, it's gonna roll over today, get some sort of a pullback, right? Set another ABCD structure up to go after the swing point highs. I suspect that's the sort of thing we're going to see take place. That's the way it sits tonight. As always, I invite you to join me, join the other members. For a small fee, folks, you can get a wealth of information. You can get personal training in neoclassical TA. You can't get anywhere else, and if you've watched these videos a little while, you know for the most part does a pretty good job of looking at those tests, reading those tests, and using that to understand what the market wants to do next. Have yourself a great night. I'll talk to you next time. Good night.